Vanuatu. So I'm just doing some projects. One of my projects is the cooling system on the boat. I have a intake filter which filters the debris out of the intake water, and I've got a cracked gasket. So I had made some previous modifications to this, and I probably should have changed the intake filter for a newer one. But let me give you a look at what I've done. So this is my filter. It's nothing terribly interesting, but I wanted to put a intake into my salt water pump for the washing the dishes. So I glued a fitting into the bottom of it, and it does quite well. And haven't had any problems with that fitting, leaking or anything else, and it doesn't seem to affect the pressure of the water. I don't use it very much, just for washing dishes. But I noticed I had some issues with not getting enough water pressure. So I've been going through cooling systems, looking at problems and fixing things as I go along whilst I'm in port, and I noticed this O-ring is completely deteriorated, and in fact is busted. So what I'd done was I'd filled it up with Vaseline, and which created the seal, but I decided it's time to fix it, and I couldn't get an O-ring. So what I've done is I have this 3mm O-ring material, so I can make my own O-rings, and I've used this on my water maker to make O-rings. And what you do is you work out the size of your O-ring, you have two very sharp cuts, and then you join it together with super glue, and then you place it in, and there's your O-ring. So that's my job today, is to make a new O-ring, and I also put a new O-ring in the bottom of my filter. It was deteriorated or had disappeared. So I have an O-ring kit and different types of washer kits. So all these things are really handy to have on a boat, particularly in places like Port Vila. I'm sure you can find everything you need in Port Vila. Problem is finding it, and you'll walk into dozens of shops and they will have everything from Mother Hubbard dresses to solar panels in the same shop, and it's very difficult to find what you need. And if you've been here 10 years, you'll know exactly where to go, but it's not really jumping on the net and finding what you need. It's a very ad hoc process. So today we are going to make an O-ring. We're going to fix this up. We're going to put a bit of silicone glue on the hoses. We're going to put them back on, seal it all up tight, check the hose clamps, make sure they're all good, and that will be that problem resolved. So let's get into it. What I'm doing is just going to measure the diameter of the O-ring material. A little bit too big, better a little bit too small initially. I've used this O-ring material several times, and I'm finding it really, really handy. It wasn't cheap, but nothing ever is if it works well. This might be one of the jobs I do, is replace this when I get back in the real world and have access to the equipment that I need. Okay, that fits pretty well. put a bit of goo around that to seal it up even tighter. Okay, that O-ring was just a touch too much, so I'm going to put a bit of silicone in the bottom of that to seal it up, but that is nice and tight. Okay, onward and onward. I only had a tube of this the other day. Think I can find it when I want it? Ever? Alright, that one's no good. Obviously used it. Stuff doesn't last very long once you crack the seal. You've just got to hold it until it sets, which with super glue doesn't take very long at all. Okay. Oh, you little bugger. And you've got to try and make sure you don't glue your fingers to the product, because I've done that before as well. Alright, so we'll let that cook off, and then we'll seal that back into the filter housing. I've got a couple of different types of silicone I use for different things. But yeah, we'll come back to that later. Well, our rubber O-ring is glued, and I've put it in. I've used some rubber grease. So I use this Penrite rubber grease on my window seals, and I use it on other areas where I feel that it works. So I've just created a better seal, I believe. A little bit of lubricant on the seal as well. Just put the basket back in. I just put a bit of grease in the bottom there to give it a tighter seal. So it's nice and firm. I'm just dropping an O-ring on there. And then I just cinch it down with a wing nut. So previously this cracked when I was at sea once. Don't know why, probably just age. Would have been an indicator to swap it out then, but I was at sea. So I repaired it and glued a washer on the top using some international glue. And this stuff is great. Seemed to work quite well. and did the job for me. And yeah, we've got a functional bit of kit. So now I'm just going to go and install it back in. I'm just going to give these a bit of a rough up with some sandpaper. Then I'm going to put a bit of silicone on them, put the tubes back, or the hoses back on, and put it all back together.